So I feel very honored to be here. I'm going to speak with you today, and I apologize if I'm going to make it a little bit shorter than I had intended. It's just very hard for me to speak. But I'm going to speak to you today about one of the projects that I started with the help of Hashem, and it's called Netillah. This is just going to show you what it looks like. And I'll explain to you why I started this and what I'd like to speak about this beautiful Mitzvah of Netillah. We have here, this is 100% pure copper Netillah cup. My objective really, more than anything, is to educate people about the importance of this mitzvah. Whether you may say, Orly, I do Netillah. What are you talking about? It's very, very good. If we do Netillah, the challenge is doing Netillah every day with new eyes. What do I mean? Putting the intention. Oftentimes when we do something and it becomes rote, we're doing it day after day after day. Oftentimes we can lose the value for what that is. And so we just rush through it and we do it and we move on to the next thing and we check it off. Netilat, check, I did it. Praying, check, I did it. But the truth of the matter is these aren't just things to check off of a list. The intention, the kavanah that we put when we do something, that's really what elevates it. It's what elevates anything. It's what elevates just the regular cup into something that's holy by saying kiddush on it. Now you're using this cup to make kiddush. It's taking a cup that you wash your hands and something that's holy. It's not just something, it's a vessel. It's a spiritual tool to bring abundance into our lives as Hashem has intended for us. So the danger becomes that if we do something often enough, that we lose that passion, that fire of when we first started doing it, which is why it's so important. And for those that maybe don't do it, or maybe you do it sometimes, you don't do it sometimes, if we come to understand what this does, what Netilat does, that Hashem gave it to us, even if we start doing it just a little bit more, that's already a huge thing. And that's my intention today, to just share a few things about this incredible mitzvah. I'll also share with you why I actually started this company, which it was not my idea. It was really my cousin's idea. So I'm going to share with you. And why copper? What's the connection with Netillah and copper? That doesn't mean you're not allowed to do Netillah with a cup that's not copper. I'm going to say it again. You could do Netillah with any cup. And the copper is the hidur mitzvah. And so I'm going to get to all of these points, I hope, over this next short period of time. First and foremost, to understand the story behind why I got into this. A few years ago, right before actually I came to Israel, my cousin called me, said to me, Orly, I have to tell you something. I need you to be in on this with me. I said, what are you talking? What's going on? What's up? He said, Netillah Yadayim. I said, okay, what about Netillah Yadayim? He says, we have to bring this company into fruition to bring back the concept of doing Netillah with copper for Am Yisrael. This is something that is a part of helping to fasten the Geulah. He said the words that he knew I was going to say yes to. I said, what? I'm in. I don't know what you're going to tell me next. I'm already in. What's going on? So he told me he was speaking to his rabbi. He was having some hard time with parnasa. And he spoke to his rabbi. He said, Rabbi, I know what to do. Everything I'm trying to do, it's very, very difficult. I keep coming across these barriers. So his rabbi said to him, do Netillah. He said, Rabbi, I do Netillah. What's the chidush here? He says, no, do it with nechoshet. So he didn't give it, he didn't think about it twice. So he started looking for Netillah cups and nechoshet, and he couldn't find. He found copper plated. Ones that he found were insanely expensive. He didn't understand what was the idea. So he was very, very crafty with his hands. He makes a Netillah cup from copper. And he starts doing Netillah. But then he starts asking himself, why? Why did the rabbi, who was also a Kabbalist, why did he tell him to do it with copper? And so he starts researching more and more into nechoshet, finding sources in Torah, in Gemara, in Kabbalah, talking about this material of nechoshet and talking about Netilat Yadayim, the power of Netilat Yadayim. What was the connection? And he found these beautiful connections. And he said to me, we need to be able to bring this back to Am Yisrael. Because for generations, Am Yisrael used to do Netilah with nechoshet. It was being done with nechoshet. Even Rabbanim that are, Rav Chaim Kanievsky, for example, alav shalom, saying that when he was younger, they were always doing Netilah nechoshet. What happened over the generations? People forgot, it has to look good with the kitchen. It matches with the thing. It has to go with the backsplash. It has to go here. But the truth is, again, this is not a product. This is a Netilah, is a spiritual vessel to bring abundance into our lives. So I said to him, I'm in. And so we started this journey. And of course, as you start a journey and doing something, you start learning more and more about it. You start having more and more appreciation for the mitzvah of Netilat Yadayim. There are many aspects to this. And again, I won't be able to get into all of these things today. I want to share with you a little bit about the concept of Netillah in general, and then Nechoshet. Think about this for a second, okay? All of our asiyah, all of the things that we do in this world, they come through our hands, right? The thoughts that we have in our heart, in our mind. The action, it comes through our hands, right? Whether it's preparing food, whether it's taking care of our children, whether it's bringing parnasah, the action is coming through our hands. So when our hands are purified and sanctified, we infuse that same purity and sanctification into everything we touch. Think about this. You know, in Torah, when Am Yisrael was going to war with Amalek, there was something that happened there. When Moshe Rabbeinu's hands were up, remember his hands got very tired, so they started falling down. When his hands were up, they were defeating Amalek. When his hands came down, Amalek was defeating them. So he's raising his hands up. And he had Aaron, had Caleb holding his hands up, his hands. And when that happened, suddenly Bnei Israel was able to become stronger and able to defeat. Asiyah is coming through the hands. Hands are very important. Why? So when we do Netilat Yadayim, what do we do? And I'll talk about in terms of the proper way of doing Netilat Yadayim. But after we wash our hands, and I'll speak about that in a moment, what do we do ourselves? We take our hands after we wash them with the water and we take off the remaining water before we dry them. Many people will dry their hands as they're saying the beracha. Actually, that's not the ideal way to do it. You need to say the beracha first and then dry it, because if your hands are dry, it's sort of like a beracha lebatala, because it's about the washing of your hands actually being wet. So he pours the water, pour the water on our hands. We lift our hands up. We look at them. We look at them when we're saying the beracha, because we recognize that all of our asiyah comes through our hands. We're asking that Hashem should protect our hands, and give us the koach and the ability to bring things into the world, to take those things, those thoughts, those ideas, and to actually be able to execute on them. Now, the connection to Nechoshet for a second, just to share with you something very interesting. It says, okay, in Kabbalah, it says that silver represents chesed, gold represents power, and what is copper? What does Nechoshet represent? It represents mercy. Nechoshet represents mercy. Now, I'm going to put that on the side for a second. Tell you one other thing about Nechoshet. When we look in the Torah, Hashem, when he tells Moshe to make the kior in the Bet HaMikdash, that the Kohanim would wash their hands with before doing Avodat HaKodesh, the holiest work, the holiest asiyah that somebody can do. The last thing that the water touched before hitting the hands of the Kohanim was copper. He didn't choose gold. He didn't choose silver. He chose copper. And another thing, okay, we're going to put that on the side now. Yam Shlomo, the basin that the Kohanim would dip into, that was also made on 12 bakar of Nechoshet, that the Kohanim would immerse themselves into before doing Avodat HaKodesh. What was it made of? You guessed it. It was also made of Nechoshet. It was made of copper. So we have something very interesting here, that when there's water involved, we see copper. What is happening over here? What is the connection? And how is it connected to what I shared with you about the Zohar, about mercy, about copper being mercy? Oftentimes, we make mistakes. We're human beings. We make mistakes. Sometimes we use our hands, our tool that Hashem gave us to put the asiyah into the world. Sometimes we use them for the things that are not so good. And so by utilizing copper, in a sense, what are we doing? We're asking Hashem to bring mercy onto our hands. Have mercy on us for the things that we've done with our hands that maybe weren't exactly up to par. And we're pouring the water, the beracha, on them and asking Hashem, okay, sanctify my hands. So now I'm going to continue into my next few moments, the next day of my life, the next section, and I'm going to be able to use this tool that you gave me to be able to bring good into the world. Another concept of copper here. You see, Copper itself, the element of copper, chemically, it's a natural antibacterial. I don't know if you know this, but in hospitals, they used to make doorknobs out of copper to prevent the spread of germs from going from one person to the next. The element of copper has a purifying capacity for the water. Now, here's one way to think about it. Okay, this is a concept to think about. We know that why do we do Netilat Yadayim? Netilat Yadayim is not to remove physical dirt. Otherwise, you take soap, you have the best soap ever, you wash your hands, you're good to go. It's not removing a physical dirt. It's something spiritual. It's on a much different plane. To remove the spiritual tum'ah from our hands so that we can go out there and use this vessel to do good without tum'ah being a part of it. But we know that tum'ah can cling to anything alive. Anything that is living, tum'ah is the ability. And we know mayim is what? Mayim, chayim. So perhaps think about it like this. We pour water into a cup. Again, I'm going to say it again. You are allowed to do Netillah with any vessel. Of course, it shouldn't be a broken vessel because we want to give kavod to it. And it has to have two handles. Okay? However, when we pour water, the tumah is able to cling to the mayim. What happens when you put it into raw copper? The copper, because of the element of copper, which makes it ideal, the most ideal, sort of acts, think of it in a sense like a force field. Okay, think of it like a force field around the mayim, so that the tumah is not able to touch the mayim. So when you're pouring, you're actually pouring with what? The purest waters that you can possibly pour to go onto your hands, which brings all the asyan to the world. So when Hashem told Moshe, he didn't tell him, you think, oh, it's very important, right? He didn't tell him gold. He told him nechoshet. Nechoshet itself is also connected to other things. It's connected to beracha. It's connected to refuah, to healing. How do we know? In a few more parshiot, we're going to read it. There's a big magefa. And what does Moshe make? He makes the nachash from what? From nechoshet. He makes the nachash from nechoshet, from copper, which itself is healing, because what was the magefa? They were all being bit. There were people that were dying. People were completely dying. Also, there's a deeper concept there, where there's a tikkun for what the nachash was doing. That's why it was nechoshet. We won't get into all of that right now. Nechoshet, in addition to that, is also connected. It's connected as well to pirya. In itself is also connected to the concept of pirya, of having children. We see this in this actually comes from the book Orly Wahba here, okay? It explains the Kabbalah. Rav Tzvi Yehuda Brendvin says that Lavan, okay, told Yaakov, Nichashti v'yevarcheni Hashem biglalech. Nichashti v'yevarcheni, Hashem blessed me because of you. Now the word nichashti comes from the word nichoshet, which is copper. So what does it say? What does the rabbi say? Like, it was saying that Lavan explains that Hashem blessed him with male children in the merit of Yaakov. Because prior to Yaakov's arrival, Lavan only had girls. So from this, we learn that nechoshet, copper, is connected also to fertility and has the ability to assist in bearing children. Now, I'm not going to go into all of the other elements of copper in itself, and I have a lot of this information also on the website that you can read about why copper is such a very instrumental thing. What I want to go into now is we can hear about something and it can maybe teach us something new, but if we don't put something into practical use, we lose the inspiration to do anything. So I want to share a couple of things here about the ways of properly performing the mitzvah of Netillah. Now, if you know this already, I apologize. I didn't know necessarily. I didn't know this. So I just want to share something briefly. There are different times in which we do Netillah. There's Netillah in the morning when we wake up, because our neshama goes up to Shemayim. We're like a 60th dead. So when we come back, we have the tumah, we have to remove it before we touch anything, before we touch our eyes, to do Netillah, because we don't want that tumah to affect us. Okay, it's again, we're talking about on a spiritual level here. The Netillah that we do in the morning is different than the Netillah that we would do prior to eating bread, or the Netillah that we do after leaving a kever, or after washing our nails, or after going to the bathroom. It's a different kind of a Netillah. Okay, and the Netillah in the morning, and again, there are different ways that are done. for Sephardim and Ashkenazim, okay? So just be aware of that. I happen to be Sephardic, so I'm going to share that, but there's a little bit of a different way for Ashkenazim as well. So I'm just going to show you here. Very important, our mitzvah, to be taking place with the right hand. Now, in the morning, we are alternating between right, left, right, left, right, left. Whereas opposed to before eating bread, we do three. Ashkenazim do two. Moroccans, they do two, and then they flip it up like this way. I'll explain in a second. So let's talk about the morning for a moment. Number one is we fill up with the right hand. Don't be afraid of the water. Are you afraid of beracha? You want beracha? Well, don't be afraid of the water. The water is your friend. If you're already doing Netillah, so take an extra second, wait for the water to go into the cup. Fill it up. Fill it up. This is beracha for your day. We're rushing to go and to do and to succeed. Hashem is giving us something to do that. So let's take the extra second. We fill up the Netillah cup with our right hand. We pass it. Just the rule is you always can pass from right to left. But when you want to pass from left to right, just remember, put it down. Pick it up with the right. So you fill it up with the right. I know it can seem confusing. You pass it over. You first pour on the right. Now I poured on the right. Pour the water. Pour. Now don't pass it back to your right. Left doesn't go to right. Put it down. Pick it up with the right hand. We pour. We pass it to the left. You can do pour. Put it down. We pick it up. Pour. And then the same thing. Then we're going to do 3 on here. 3 on here. The thing to remember, passing from right to left, not from left to right. If it's left to right, put it down. This is how we, then after we do the Netillah and have it come up here, fill your hand with water, with the beracha. Have the intention that as you're pouring it, you're pouring the beracha, you're opening up this reservoir for Hashem to actually bring upon you the beracha that He has stored for you. He has it there for you. That now with Hashem, everything that I'm going to touch, everything I'm going to do today should happen very easily. It should happen with ease. It should happen with blessing, with abundance. And so we fill it up. We rub the excess water from our hands, and we lift our hands up with the right hand just slightly above the left to see our hands. Why? These are the hands that are going to be doing in this world. And now we say the beracha. We say it. Not under the breath, not we forgot some words. We say it. Only after that we dry our hands. With doing Netillah after the bathroom, it's the same idea of alternating right, left. Again, like I said, Ashkenazim will do it a little bit differently. Sometimes they just do 2 and 2, okay, before you say Asher Yatzah. The bread is different. We're filling it up. We're doing 3 on one side, putting it down, 3 on the other. Like I said, Ashkenazim sometimes do 2 and 2. And Moroccans, they do 2, and then they flip it over like this. Now, what's the idea here? The idea here is very simple. My objective is one, is that whether we're doing Netilat, whether we're not, perhaps we could take upon ourselves in some small way. If we don't do Netilat at all, maybe you're just taking on Netilat in the morning. Maybe taking on Netilat before bread, something small. You don't need to take, okay, I'm going to do it completely all the time. Sometimes it doesn't work that way because it becomes too much. And then if we're not able to keep up with it, we forget it, we let it go. If you're already doing Netillah, then the goal and the challenge is to do it with a little bit more kavanah. Fill it up with water. Let it really hit your hands. Have the thought when you're doing it, what you're actually doing. You're opening up these reservoirs for Hashem to send this beracha and this abundance into your life. So B'ezrat Hashem, you have the ability to tap into that. And so that as you continue going on throughout the course of your day, the things that you're going to touch, the people's lives that you will touch, you're going to infuse that same spirituality, that same sanctity into each and every person. And so one of my objectives in starting this is about educating about Netillah and B'ezrat Hashem trying to bring back the concept of Nechoshet into the Mitzvah of Netillah, to elevate it. And so we brought these cups, Baruch Hashem, they're at the Kotel, and now we're bringing them to different Kivrei Tzadikim. Rabbi Meir Baal HaNes, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, Rabbi Akiva, Kever Rachel, we just received, and many, many more. And there's an opportunity, if any are interested, to dedicate a cup. You can actually have engraved on the cup, whether it's Lilu Nishmat of somebody or for Refuah Shlema of someone, that's going to be placed at the kever with hundreds of thousands of people that are using them. Think about how many people go to the Kevarim, to the Kotel on a yearly basis. It's wild. In your Zuhut, in your family Zuhut. And of course, if you're interested, you can definitely reach out to me to learn more. Yes, somebody wrote, wash up to your wrist. Exactly. That's what we said, to wash up to your wrist. Don't worry about the water. Don't be afraid of the water. The water is beracha. So it's very, very, very important to really place as much of the mime on your hands that you possibly can. B'ezrat Hashem, in the zuhud of this mitzvah, or any mitzvot that you're taking on in a little bit of a better way to uplift it, in the zuhud of these mitzvot that we're doing, we should usher in the Mashiach, B'ezrat Hashem, that we have the kiyor in the Bet HaMikdash of Nechoshet, that will B'ezrat Hashem be able to see, and each of us can hopefully have a little bit of that piece of that Bet HaMikdash within our own homes. So I want to thank you all so much for your time today.
Orly, that was gorgeous. Orly, I have a question. It's no me. This was absolutely beautiful. Orly, I want to ask you, so when you put the cup down between the, so you took it from the left, which we always do. We put it, and then we put it back in the right, and then we put the water on the left. You put the water on the right, and then you put it back down again?
Yes, so basically.
Is that a smart thing, or is that just the proper way to do it?
The proper way to do it is you start with your right. Now, again, somebody wrote a question, is it different if you are a lefty? As far as I know, and based on speaking to a rabbi, it's not different. You're still doing the mitzvah on the right hand. So you're filling up the water with the right. You're filling up the water with the right.
The left.
To the left. And then you are starting, the mitzvah is happening starting with the right. You're pouring it first on the right hand. Now here to my left. No, right. Doesn't go. You don't put it down, you fill it up, you pour, now you pass it, and you're able to pour down. So you pick it up.
And you put it, every time you put it in, every time you pour it onto the right hand.
Yes.
You before you pour it on the left, you put it down, or before on the other way?
No. Before, every time that you need to put it this way, if you're doing it alternating and you're starting with your right, anytime you need to pass the cup to your right, put it down first. If for example, here, okay, if I filled it up, I pass it, I poured it, now I put it down. Now I'm pouring it on my left. I don't need to put it down again. It's my right. I can pass to my left. Then I can pour on my right. Now I put it down, pick it up, pour on my left, pass it to my left, pour on my right. I know it seems confusing. I know it will seem confusing at first, but once you do it, it will become second nature.
But why do you put it down?
Chesed and Gvura.
Exactly. Who just said that? Yes, exactly. The right hand, somebody wrote it here also. The right hand represents chesed and the left hand represents gevura. So we are always want to have the chesed be above the gevura. So you want to always starting with the chesed. We're starting with the right. So the idea is you don't want to pass, you don't want to pass from your left to your, if you just remember that when you're ready to pass from left to right, just put it down. Right to left, no issue. And you're alternating right first, right, left, right, left, right, left. Somebody also asked, I don't halacha according to all minhagim. You're asking a good question. Based on all that I spoke to, all I can tell you that I know, and I'm not going to say, hey, I know everything, and if you're doing it this way, you're wrong. But based on what I've learned and what I found out, yes, Sephardim, Ashkenazim, minhagim is different because Sephardim do 3 times. For example, I know before bread, Ashkenazim do 2. Maybe if there's any Ashkenazim on, you can tell me if that's correct. I've seen friends of mine that are Ashkenazim, they do 2 times, whereas I know Sephardim do 3 times. So yes. And I know, and I've seen somebody that is Moroccan, and I asked him, that's what he told me, says, yeah, we do it this way. They do 2 and 2, and then they flip it over like this, the last one.
Oh.
Why they do that, I'm not sure, but I know that it is their minhag to do so. So, obviously traditions can vary, but to start the mitzvah from the right, this is across the board for everybody in terms of starting the mitzvah at the right. Somebody asked also about how they could find out more. Netilat.com, I put the link. You have there the history of Netillah. You have also about copper, its health benefits, spiritual benefits, mekorot, sources from Torah, from Gemara, from Kabbalah that you can see there. And we have lots of classes from different Rabbanim and Rebbitzins speaking about the Mitzvah of Netillah and connecting it to various Chagim as well. The beautiful classes, they're on our YouTube channel. Everything is free for you to take a look at and to learn and to see more there. Somebody wrote Hasidim do 3 also. Yes, I did hear that. That's very true. Hasidim specifically, yes. So this is the concept. But more than anything, our objective is one, is to slow down a little bit. I'm also guilty of this. We have to slow down sometimes, because it's one thing when we never did a mitzvah, and when we do it, it's like so new, it's so fresh. Mitzvot should always feel new and fresh. So allowing ourselves to slow down a second and say, what am I actually doing right now? And having the intention, it goes a long way. To envision as you're pouring the water, to envision barakah coming into your life, it really goes a long way. That's where everything is. Just like tefillah, we know that the words are like the goof. They're like the body. It's like the peel of the orange. But the intention, the milim, that's the kavanah. That's the intention. That's the neshama. That's the soul of these mitzvot. And that would be an amazing thing if we're able to do. The site again is Netillah, NETILLAH.com. And like I said, if you have also, here's the email address you could reach me at. I answer all my emails. It's info@netillah.com, and my WhatsApp number, you can reach me as well there. If you have any questions that you want to ask, or if you're interested in finding out about the Kevarim project that we're doing right now. We just got Kever Achel, Baruch Hashem, so we're going to be placing these there as well, so that we can get as many people in Am Yisrael to be really utilizing Nechoshet, which is, again, this is a Hidur Mitzvah, in order to bring this to the next level.
Orly, may I add a little something for us women?
Yes.
So the Nechoshet Kior in the Bet HaMikdash was made from the mirrors of the Jewish women. And so it's
thank you so much for bringing that up. Please explain it. Thank you for bringing that up. I forgot to mention it. Please go ahead.
No, you do. You're the lecturer, but I want to add something else.
Please.
So the women in Mitzrayim, they were slaves, like we know that, and they were in the field, and they wanted to have children from their husband, and they took this mirror to beautify themselves so they could be attractive to their husbands and have children. And they are very holy. So when they left Mitzrayim, they took their mirrors with them. You think for their beauty, but no, they donated their mirrors to build the copper basins that were needed in the Bet HaMikdash. So that's use for us women.
100%. Thank you so much for bringing that up, because it slipped my mind. 100%.
And Orly, I want to add something. I am a massage therapist, and I use my hands all the time. And if you look at your fingers, you have phalanges, little connection between a finger. So you have 3 on each finger and 2 on the thumb. So altogether is Yud Daled. Okay, Yud Daled is Yad. The other hand is Yud Daled also. When you put them together, you lift them in Netilat, you get Gematria Koach. So this is what I wanted to share.
I love it. It's very true. And that's why after we do Netillah, we put our hands together and we lift it up and we say the bracha, and just not to dry them before you actually say the bracha, because sometimes we do that and it's really becomes bracha la batala, so to just be, again, if every one of us could take on one small thing that we didn't do that we're going to now do, it doesn't have to be everything. It's small steps gets you there,
Sephardic women, Sephardic people, they raise their hand and they say before Netilat for bread, Ka'amur potech et yadecha u'mazbiah l'chol chai ratzon, and you make a kli with your hands to receive the shefa bracha. Your hands 100%. Are,
And also in Tehillim, there's the pasuk. It says erchatz binikayon kapai. It appears twice in Tehillim. This pasuk. Erchatz binikayon kapai, to wash, to purify our hands. It's such an important thing, and therefore all the things that we're doing are going to be infused with much more beracha.
I have a question.
Yes, of course.
If you go to like a wedding hall, or a Jewish doctor's office, there's a Netillah station outside of the bathroom.
Yes.
Now, a private home doesn't have that usually.
Yes.
Is it so? When you go to the bathroom, you wash your hands, say the bracha in the bathroom, and then dry them?
No. I'll explain. You're asking a fantastic question. Most people, some people do, but majority, 90-something% of people do not have a washing station right outside of their bathroom, in all of their bathrooms. Most people don't. What's best to do? Number one, you never say the baracha in the bathroom. Never. Now, if, for example, you're going to say, you're going to do Netillah in the bathroom, okay? Ideal, it's better to do out of the bathroom. But if by saying, okay, I'm going to do it out of the bathroom and then you're going to forget, don't worry. Do it in the bathroom, okay? But you go outside of the bathroom and then you, with your hands wet, you say the baracha and then you dry them, okay? Always the baracha is outside. In an ideal scenario, what is ideal? The ideal is that also when you're, let's say you just went to the bathroom and you need to do Netillah before you say Asher Yatzar, it's best to do it outside the bathroom. I know my father, for example, always, he washes his hands in the bathroom, but then he goes outside, he goes to the sink in the kitchen, he does Netillah, and then he says Asher Yatzar. If it's going to prevent you from doing it, then it's better to do it in the bathroom, but then you come outside, you dry your hands, you say Asher Yatzar, but never we say brachot in the bathroom. That for sure we don't do.
See, that's what I was wondering. Well, because we have two bathrooms, one on each floor.
Yeah.
The only one you can really get to the kitchen. So what I was doing before was I was washing with the Netillah, drying my hands because I thought you don't like touch things with wet hands, going outside the bathroom, and then saying the bracha. But you're saying you don't dry your hands till after you say the bracha.
Don't dry your hands. And if you need to leave your bathroom door a little open so you go out, that's what I do. In the morning, I wash my hands in my bathroom. Why? Because I know that if I'm going to tell myself I have to get to the kitchen. Now, again, we always can grow, but we first want to be able to do something and do it steadily before we grow. Because if we try to do too much, it's just going to feel like, and then we're going to forget, so then we're not doing it. That doesn't help. So everybody, wherever they are, and then you continue growing. But one thing you cannot do is you just can't say the baracha. You can't say the baracha in the bathroom, and best not to dry the hands outside, not to dry your hands inside the bathroom. Go outside. Then you dry them, you say the bracha, then you dry them, and all should be good that way. Somebody wrote, my parents gave me a copper Netillah cup from Yerushalayim years ago. I want to tell you something. This is not the first time I've heard this. You should know. This was not one rabbi. You'll see all the endorsements from very, very, very big Gedolei Hador on our website. And I can't tell you how many of them said, when we were kids, we always did Netillah with copper. And I had somebody that just told me just the other day, they said, you know what's crazy? When I was looking through all my stuff in like the old stuff of my parents that was in my attic, and I saw all these copper cups, and I just said, what are these? They look old. And I threw them away. I said, oh, copper is a very, very big thing to do Netilat Yadayim with copper. But it's true. That's why they used to do it that way. But now in today's world, sometimes does it match with the kitchen? I need a small one, somebody tells me. I understand, but you know what? This fits 1 liter of water, 1 liter. Why do you want a small one? You want a little bit of baracha? You want a lot of baracha? You want a lot of baracha. So remember, this isn't something we buy in the thing. This is a spiritual tool. It's a tool, it's something spiritual. So we have to sometimes remember that.
Orly, what was the acronym again that you, for Nechoshes, you said it was an acronym for something?
Did I say? No, I didn't say it was an acronym. I said that Nechoshet represents mercy. In the Kabbalah, it tells us that each of the silver represents chesed, gold represents power, and copper, Nechoshet, represents mercy. Somebody also wrote something very important. Thank you for mentioning it. Yes, the Netillah that you do for Asher Yatzar, you are allowed to dry your hands in the bathroom. I'm talking about if you're doing Netillah in the morning in the bathroom and you need to say the bracha, because you don't say bracha of Netillah, important. You don't say the bracha of Netillah after you go to the bathroom. You don't. You say Asher Yatzar, but you do Netillah Okay, you do Netilah of the alternating one, not the bread one, not 3 and 3, but alternating. Okay, the only time you do 3 and 3 is for bread, so you remember easily, or 2 and 2 based on that. However, for Asher Yatzar, when you're in the bathroom, you're doing Netilah, you can dry your hands in the bathroom. That's not an issue because you're not doing it to say the bracha of Netilah. You're going outside and saying the bracha of Asher Yatzar. So that's different. That's very different. Thank you all for such nice comments. I appreciate it only because you have no idea how much I'm not feeling well. So hearing these comments makes me feel happy because at least it's not coming off. I'm very happy. I was praying to Hashem.